So, here I am, about to share one of the wildest roller coasters of my life. My name's Mark, and for the past 10 years, I thought my marriage to Lisa was solid, until it wasn't. We met in college, both working our butts off to build careers and dreamed of the perfect life together. Fast forward to last year, and things started getting a bit rocky. Lisa, as I mentioned, can be pretty bitchy at times. She's got this knack for stirring up drama over the smallest things, whether it's leaving dishes in the sink for days or making snarky comments about my work schedule. At first, I brushed it off, thinking it was just stress from her demanding job in marketing. But then, subtle signs began to pop up. Late nights at the office became more frequent, and her stories about after-work hangouts with coworkers didn't quite add up. I remember one evening, I came home from a conference early, hoping to surprise her with dinner. The house was eerily quiet, and Lisa was nowhere to be found. My gut told me something was off, but I convinced myself it was just another one of her work-related excuses. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of unraveling what I thought was a perfect marriage. Alright, so here's where things start to get really messy. It was a chilly Saturday morning, and I decided to do some spring cleaning around the house, yeah, right before fall. I figured it was a good time to declutter and maybe find a few things that had been piling up. As I was going through some old drawers in our bedroom, I stumbled upon Lisa's phone charger. Weird, I thought, because she always kept her charger in the living room. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to take a peek at her phone to see if there were any missed calls or strange messages. I wasn't snooping for anything specific, just thought maybe her battery was acting up. As I scrolled through her messages, my heart sank. There it was, a string of texts between Lisa and someone named Ethan, who, as I later found out, is the vice president of Apple. At first, I tried to brush it off as just friendly banter. You know, co-workers being co-workers. But the messages were anything but professional. They were filled with inside jokes, late-night plans, and, to my horror, explicit references to their sex life. My mind was racing. Ethan? The VP of Apple? How on earth did Lisa end up with someone so high-profile? Just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, I found a series of photos Lisa had taken. There they were, her and Ethan at what looked like a fancy hotel, clearly more than just colleagues hanging out. My blood boiled, and a mix of anger and betrayal washed over me. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. After 10 years together, how had it come to this? I sat there for a while, processing the shock. My first instinct was to confront her, but I needed to gather my thoughts and figure out what to do next. Little did I know, this was just the tip of the iceberg. After sitting there for what felt like hours, my anger reached a boiling point. I knew I couldn't let this slide without confronting Lisa. I took a deep breath, grabbed her phone, and walked into the living room where she was lounging on the couch, scrolling through her tablet. Lisa, we need to talk, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She looked up, her expression shifting from annoyance to feigned surprise. About what, Mark? I'm busy. I held up her phone, the incriminating messages still open on the screen. Don't play dumb. I found these texts between you and Ethan. Care to explain? Her eyes darted to the phone and then back to mine. Oh, those? They're just jokes. Ethan is a friend from work. You know how those VP types are, always trying to be funny. I wasn't buying it. Jokes? These aren't jokes, Lisa. They're explicit. And the photos, were you two really at that hotel? She rolled her eyes, crossing her arms defensively. You're blowing this way out of proportion. Ethan is a high-powered guy, but that doesn't mean anything. You're just being paranoid. My frustration bubbled over. Paranoid? After 10 years, you decide to lie to me like this? What else are you hiding? She scoffed, clearly irritated. Oh, so now I'm hiding everything? Maybe if you paid more attention instead of being glued to your work all the time, I wouldn't have to find solace elsewhere. Before I could respond, the doorbell rang. We both froze for a moment. I glanced at the clock. It was late afternoon, not a usual time for visitors. Reluctantly, I got up to answer it. To my surprise, it was Ethan himself, looking flustered and out of breath. "Mark, we need to talk," he said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Lisa shot him a venomous look. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" He took a deep breath, glancing between us. "I think it's time we all had an honest conversation. There are things you both need to understand." My mind was racing. What could Ethan possibly have to say that would change the situation? I glanced back at Lisa, who was now glaring daggers at both of us. The room was tense, and I could feel the weight of the impending showdown. Just then, my phone buzzed with a new message notification. I glanced at it and nearly choked on my coffee. It was from my best friend, Jake, with a single word: "Watch out." I turned my attention back to the room, confusion and anxiety gnawing at me. What was Jake trying to tell me? And how did he even know about all this? Ethan cleared his throat, breaking the uneasy silence. "Mark, there's more to this than you know. It's not just about Lisa and me." I felt a chill run down my spine. This was turning into something far bigger and more complicated than I ever imagined. As Lisa and Ethan began to unravel the tangled web of lies and secrets, I realized that my life was about to take some unexpected and possibly dangerous turns. Alright, buckle up because things are about to get even crazier. After Ethan walked in, the room was thick with tension. I was still processing Jake's cryptic message: "Watch out." What was he trying to warn me about? And how did he even know? Ethan took a deep breath, clearly struggling to find the right words. "Mark, I didn't come here to make things worse. There are things you need to know about Lisa that go beyond our affair." I stared at him, my anger momentarily replaced by confusion. "What are you talking about? What else is she hiding?" Lisa, still fuming, interjected sharply. "Oh, please. As if you don't have your own skeletons, Mark. Maybe if you looked in the mirror, you'd see what real problems look like." Before I could respond, Ethan continued, "No, seriously. There's more to this. Lisa has been involved in some shady business deals, and I stumbled upon things that could ruin her career and ours." My mind was spinning. Shady business deals? What does that have to do with her cheating with the VP of Apple? Was Ethan involved in this mess somehow? Lisa scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Here we go. More lies from Ethan. He's just trying to distract you from the obvious, our relationship." Ethan wasn't backing down. "I'm telling the truth, Mark. I've seen documents, emails, something big is going down, and Lisa is at the center of it. You need to trust me on this." At that moment, my phone buzzed again. Another message from Jake: "It's not just about the affair. Be careful." My heart pounded. What is happening here? I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "Alright, Ethan. If there's something going on, spill it. Now." Ethan glanced nervously at Lisa, who was glaring daggers at both of us. "Fine. Lisa has been embezzling funds from her company for the past year. She's been funneling money into offshore accounts, and I uncovered it while working on a collaborative project. I confronted her, and things just escalated from there." My jaw dropped. Embezzlement? Lisa? This was beyond betrayal, it was criminal. "Are you serious? Why are you telling me this now?" Lisa burst out, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Oh, so now Ethan's the hero? Maybe he's been keeping secrets from you too, Mark. Maybe he's the real criminal here." Before I could respond, the power in the house flickered and went out, plunging us into darkness. I cursed under my breath and fumbled for my phone to use as a flashlight. The tension was palpable, and the sudden blackout only added to the chaos. "Great timing," Lisa muttered, moving towards the window. "Maybe this is a sign that we should all just go our separate ways." Ethan looked around nervously. "We need to figure this out, Mark. There are people watching, and things could get dangerous if we don't handle it carefully." I glanced at the darkened room, feeling the weight of everything unfolding. Betrayal, lies, and now some sort of conspiracy. This wasn't just a messy divorce, it was a full-blown nightmare. As I stood there, trying to process everything, Jake called me back. My phone buzzed again with his number flashing on the screen. I hesitated for a moment before answering. "Jake, what's going on? Why are you warning me?" There was a pause on the other end, then Jake whispered urgently, "Mark, trust no one. They're watching. You need to leave now." Before I could respond, the call ended abruptly. My heart raced. Leave? What was happening? Ethan and Lisa looked at me, concern etched on their faces. "I need to go," I said, my voice shaking. "I'll figure this out. Just give me some space." Without waiting for a response, I grabbed my keys and headed for the door, my mind reeling with fear and confusion. As I stepped outside into the chilly evening air, I couldn't shake the feeling that my life was spiraling out of control, and there was no turning back. Okay, so after that crazy confrontation with Ethan and Lisa, I'm out the door, heart pounding and mind racing. Jake's warning is hanging over me like a dark cloud. Trust no one. They're watching. You need to leave now. But what does that even mean? Who's watching me, and why? I decide to head to my friend Sarah's place. She's a tech whiz and always been the most level-headed person I know. Maybe she can help me make sense of this mess. As I drive, my mind is a whirlwind of thoughts. Embezzlement? Conspiracy? Why would Lisa be involved in something like that? And how does Ethan fit into all of this? When I get to Sarah's apartment, she answers the door looking concerned. "Mark. What the hell is going on? Come in, quickly." Once inside, I spill everything, finding the texts, confronting Lisa, Ethan showing up, the power outage, and Jake's ominous messages. Sarah listens intently, her eyes narrowing as she processes the information. "All right, first things first," she says, grabbing her laptop from the coffee table. "We need to verify what Ethan said about the embezzlement. If Lisa is involved in something illegal, this goes way beyond just cheating." I nod, feeling a bit of relief that someone else is taking this seriously. Sarah starts digging through public records, company filings, anything that might shed light on Lisa's activities. As she works, I can't help but think about how perfect everything seemed with Lisa. How could she be hiding something like this? After what feels like hours, Sarah finally looks up. "Mark, you need to see this." She pulls up a document on her screen. There are irregularities in the financial statements of her company. Large sums of money have been moving to offshore accounts, just like Ethan said. My stomach drops. So, she's embezzling money? But why? And how deep does this go? Sarah shrugs. "I'm not sure yet, but we need to dig deeper. This could ruin her career, and if it's as bad as Ethan claims, it might even involve other high-profile individuals." Just then, my phone buzzes again with another message from Jake. "They know you're onto them. Be careful." My blood runs cold. It feels like something straight out of a thriller movie. Before I can respond, there's a loud crash from the kitchen. I and Sarah rush to see what happened, only to find that someone has broken a window. Glass is scattered everywhere, and it's clear that someone tried to force their way in. "Shit," I mutter, backing away. Sarah quickly grabs her phone and starts recording the scene. "We need to call the police." As we wait for the authorities to arrive, the tension is unbearable. Who could be trying to break into Sarah's place? Is it someone linked to Lisa's shady dealings? My mind races with worst-case scenarios. The police arrive a short while later, securing the area and taking our statements. They suggest increasing security measures, but it feels like the calm before the storm. As I sit alone in Sarah's living room afterward, I can't help but feel like I'm in way over my head. Determined not to back down, I decide to take matters into my own hands. If Lisa is involved in embezzlement, there must be evidence somewhere. Maybe I can find out who else is involved and expose the whole operation. But as I'm about to dive back into the investigation, my phone buzzes one more time. Meet me at the old warehouse on 5th, midnight. Come alone. Jake. Why now? What does he want? I'm torn between trusting Jake and fearing it might be a trap. But curiosity and the need for answers push me forward. I decide to go, hoping that whatever awaits at that warehouse will shed some light on this tangled web. As midnight approaches, I make my way to the deserted warehouse, the cool night air doing little to calm my nerves. The place looks abandoned, shadows dancing eerily in the dim light. Taking a deep breath, I step inside, my footsteps echoing in the vast, empty space. Suddenly, a figure steps out from the darkness. It's Jake. But he doesn't look like my friend anymore. His demeanor is tense, eyes darting around as if he's expecting someone else to be lurking in the shadows. Mark, you have to listen, he whispers urgently. They're not just your wife and Ethan. There are others involved, and they're playing a dangerous game. You need to be careful who you trust. Before I can ask anything, we hear footsteps approaching. Jake grabs my arm, pulling me behind some crates for cover. Two men in suits enter the warehouse, their faces obscured by the darkness. Jake pulls out a small device, pressing a button. Suddenly, the room is filled with bright lights and the sound of a loud alarm. The men curse and start scrambling for an exit. This is just the beginning, Mark, Jake says, pulling me away from the scene. You're in deeper than you think. We need to stay one step ahead if we're going to get out of this alive. As we make our escape, I realize that my life has transformed into something I never imagined, full of secrets, lies, and a conspiracy that threatens everything I hold dear. And through it all, I can't help but think about Lisa and how her betrayal has set off this chain of events. But I'm determined to get to the bottom of it, no matter what it takes. This isn't just about a cheating wife anymore, it's about uncovering the truth and protecting the people I care about. Alright, so after that intense midnight meeting with Jake at the old warehouse, things are officially spiraling out of control. Jake's warning, that there's more to this conspiracy than just Lisa and Ethan, has me even more confused and on edge. But there's no turning back now. I need answers, and fast. The next morning, I wake up feeling like I've been hit by a truck. My head is pounding, and my phone buzzes incessantly with messages from Sarah, Jake, and even a couple of unknown numbers. I grab my phone and see a message from Sarah, meet me at my place. Urgent. I drive over to Sarah's apartment, trying to shake off the remnants of last night's adrenaline rush. When I arrive, Sarah is already waiting for me, looking more serious than usual. Mark, we need to talk, she says, motionless, her eyes scanning the room nervously. I sit down, trying to piece together everything. Jake told me there are more people involved. What's going on, Sarah? She takes a deep breath, her fingers nervously tapping on her laptop. I've been digging into Lisa's company a bit more. There are layers upon layers of shell companies, offshore accounts, and transactions that don't add up. It's not just embezzlement, it's money laundering on a massive scale. My mind reels. So, Lisa isn't just cheating? She's laundering money? But why? And how does Ethan fit into all this? Sarah nods. Exactly. And here's the kicker, Ethan isn't just the VP of Apple. He's involved in some of these offshore transactions. It looks like he's been using his position to facilitate these illegal activities. Before I can process that, my phone buzzes again. It's another message from Jake. They're closing in. Trust no one. Panic starts to set in. What do we do now? Sarah closes her laptop and looks me straight in the eyes. We need evidence. Concrete proof that ties Lisa and Ethan to these illegal activities. Once we have that, we can expose them and put an end to this. Just as she finishes speaking, the doorbell rings. My heart skips a beat. I wasn't expecting anyone else. Sarah motions for me to stay quiet as she approaches the door cautiously. I watch nervously as she peers through the peephole. Guys, we've got company, she whispers. Before I can react, two men in dark suits and sunglasses burst into the apartment, their presence immediately making the air thick with tension. One of them steps forward, pulling out a badge. Mark Thompson. Sarah Lee. You're both coming with us. I try to stand up, but the men move quickly, grabbing us both and pushing us towards the door. Let us go. I shout, struggling against their grip. One of the men sneers. There's nothing for you here. Come quietly, and no one gets hurt. They haul us out of the apartment and into a waiting black SUV. As the doors slam shut, Sarah whispers urgently, Mark, listen to me. Stay calm. We need to think this through. The SUV speeds away, the city lights flashing by in a blur. My mind races. Who are these guys? Government agents? Hitmen? And what do they want with us? After what feels like an eternity, the SUV pulls up to an abandoned factory on the outskirts of town. The doors open, and we're forced inside. The interior is dimly lit, with shadows dancing across the vast, empty space. A man steps forward, removing his sunglasses to reveal a stern face. I'm Agent Collins with the FBI. You're both under arrest for conspiracy, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. My jaw drops. What? There's been a mistake. We're not involved in anything like that. Agent Collins smirks. Oh, I think you are. We've been monitoring your activities for a while now. Your wife, Lisa Thompson, has been a key player in this operation, and Ethan here, he gestures to one of the agents, is one of our informants. I glance over, seeing Ethan standing with a smug expression. Ethan? You're working with the FBI? Agent Collins nods. That's right. Ethan helped us gather evidence against Lisa. When things got too dangerous, we had to intervene to protect everyone involved. My mind is spinning. So Ethan wasn't actively involved, but he was bait? And Lisa has somehow managed to deceive both me and Ethan? Before I can respond, another agent steps forward. You'll need to come with us for questioning. We have a lot of questions, and the evidence against you two is overwhelming. As we're escorted out of the factory and into the back of the SUV, Sarah grabs my hand tightly. Mark, stay strong. We'll get through this. But as the SUV pulls away, I can't help but feel a sinking sense of hopelessness. My wife lied to me, betrayed me, and now I'm being dragged into a criminal investigation because of her actions. The man I thought I knew better than anyone is exposing secrets that have shattered my world. As the SUV drives into the night, the reality of the situation settles in. This wasn't just about infidelity anymore, it was a full-blown conspiracy that threatened to destroy everything I held dear. Okay, buckle up because things are about to get even more intense. So, there I was, Mark Thompson, sitting in the back of a black SUV, handcuffed alongside Sarah Lee, staring blankly as the world I knew seemed to crumble around me. Agent Collins and his team had slapped handcuffs on us, accusing us of conspiracy, money laundering, and obstruction of justice, all because of Lisa's shady dealings. My mind was racing, trying to piece together how my life had spiraled into this chaotic mess. As the SUV sped away from the abandoned factory, my heart pounded in my chest. I glanced over at Sarah, who looked equally stunned and scared. "Sarah, what the hell is going on?" I whispered, trying to keep my voice steady. She shook her head, her eyes filled with a mix of fear and determination. "I don't know, Mark. But we need to stay calm and think this through. Panicking won't help us right now." The SUV eventually pulled up to a nondescript government building, a courthouse, I assumed. We were led through a series of security checks, our hands still cuffed, and eventually ushered into a stark interrogation room. The walls were bare, the table cold and unforgiving. Agent Collins sat at one end, his expression unreadable. "Take a seat," he ordered, gesturing to the chairs across from him. I sat down, trying to steady my nerves. "Look, there's been a misunderstanding. Lisa's affair with Ethan has nothing to do with any of this." Agent Collins leaned forward, his eyes piercing. "On the contrary, Mr. Thompson, your wife's activities have directly implicated you. The financial transactions we uncovered link you both to significant money laundering operations." I felt my stomach drop. That's bullshit. I had no idea she was involved in any of this. I trusted her. Sarah interjected, her voice firm. "Mark has always been an honest man. If he knew anything, he would have reported it. There must be some mistake." Agent Collins sighed, clearly unimpressed. "We have evidence suggesting otherwise. Your bank accounts show large, unexplained deposits that coincide with the offshore transactions. Care to explain that?" Before I could respond, the door swung open, and a woman in a sharp suit walked in. "Agent Collins, I believe this is Mr. Thompson's attorney," she said, her tone professional yet assertive. I blinked in surprise. "Attorney?" I didn't. She smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry, Mark. I'm here to help. My name is Rachel Martinez, and I've been assigned to your case." Agent Collins raised an eyebrow but nodded. "Very well, Counselor Martinez. You can proceed with your questioning." Rachel took a seat, her presence instantly calming. "Mark, let's start from the beginning. Tell me about your relationship with Lisa and any financial dealings you've had together." I took a deep breath, trying to collect my thoughts. "Lisa and I have been married for 10 years. We've always been supportive of each other's careers. I have no idea about any illegal activities she's involved in." Rachel glanced at Sarah, then back at me. "Can you provide any evidence of your innocence? Maybe show bank statements or alibis for the times these transactions occurred?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with another message from Jake. "They're using your relationship to trap you. Don't trust anyone." I glanced at Sarah, who looked just as confused. "Jake? How is he texting me now? We're in the middle of an interrogation." Rachel noticed my distraction and leaned in. "Is everything all right, Mark?" I hesitated, then decided to be honest. "Jake says they're using our relationship to trap us. I don't know what that means, but I think someone's trying to set us up." Rachel's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "All right, we need to verify this. In the meantime, stay calm and don't say anything without me." Agent Collins tapped his pen against the table impatiently. "We need answers, Mr. Thompson. This isn't a game." Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the room seemed to grow colder. I felt a chill run down my spine. What the hell is going on? I muttered under my breath. Rachel leaned back, her expression serious. "Mark, we need to focus. Let's get you out of here first." Just then, the door burst open, and 2 more agents stormed in. "We have new evidence," one of them announced. "You're being transferred to another facility for further questioning." I exchanged a worried glance with Sarah and Rachel. This was getting out of hand faster than I could handle. As they led us out of the room, I couldn't help but feel like I was trapped in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. In the back of the SUV, Rachel whispered, "We're going to get through this. I promise you, Mark." But as the doors shut and we sped away, I couldn't shake the feeling that the real enemy wasn't just the FBI agents or even Lisa. It felt like there was someone, or something, pulling the strings behind the scenes, orchestrating this chaos for reasons I couldn't yet comprehend. As the sun set outside the window, casting long shadows across the SUV's interior, I realized that my journey was far from over. This wasn't just about betrayal or infidelity anymore, it was a battle for the truth, and I wasn't sure who to trust or how to win. Alright, so after what felt like hours of interrogation and being shuffled between rooms, I found myself back in another sterile interrogation room. Rachel Martinez, my attorney, was by my side, her presence a small beacon of hope in this nightmare. Sarah was also there, looking equally worn and worried. Agent Collins was present again, his demeanor as unyielding as ever. "Mr. Thompson, Ms. Lee," Agent Collins began, his voice devoid of any warmth, "we have new evidence that ties you both directly to the money laundering operations. We need you to cooperate fully." I glanced at Rachel, who gave me a subtle nod, encouraging me to stay calm. "Mark, let's hear them out," she whispered. Agent Collins continued, sliding a thick folder across the table. "These are bank statements showing large, unexplained deposits from offshore accounts directly linked to Lisa Thompson's company. We also have surveillance footage placing you at several of these transactions." My heart raced. There's been a mistake. I had no idea Lisa was involved in any of this. I trusted her completely. Rachel opened the folder, scanning the documents quickly. "Agent Collins, can you provide the exact nature of these transactions? Context is important here." Before he could respond, the door swung open, and in walked Ethan, not as an informant, but looking more disheveled and desperate than ever. "Mark, Rachel, you need to listen to me," he pleaded, his eyes darting nervously around the room. Agent Collins raised an eyebrow. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" Ethan took a deep breath. "I need to explain everything. It's not just about Lisa or the money laundering. There's a bigger picture here, something you're not seeing." Rachel leaned forward, her interest piqued. "Go on, Ethan. We're listening." Ethan glanced at me, his expression conflicted. "All right. So, Lisa wasn't acting alone. She was part of a larger network that's been manipulating major corporations, including Apple, to funnel money into these offshore accounts. But there's more. There are high-level executives involved who have been using their positions to cover their tracks." Agent Collins frowned. "Are you saying this is a conspiracy involving other top officials?" Ethan nodded. "Exactly. And it goes deeper than we thought. When I tried to back out, they started targeting anyone who knew too much, including Lisa and me. That's why Jake warned you. They're eliminating threats to keep their operation running smoothly." I felt a chill run down my spine. "So, who are these people? Who's pulling the strings?" Ethan hesitated, looking around as if expecting someone to barge in at any moment. "I can't say their names here. It's too risky. But I have evidence, documents and recordings that can expose them. We just need to be careful and work together." Rachel exchanged a quick glance with me before addressing Ethan. "If you have evidence, you need to share it with us. This could change everything." Before Ethan could respond, the room's lights flickered, and the sound of shattering glass echoed from the hallway. My heart skipped a beat. What the hell was that? Agent Collins sprang to his feet, pulling out his badge and gun. "Stay behind me. We have an intruder." The door burst open, and two men in dark suits rushed in, their faces obscured by masks. "Freeze! Don't move," one of them barked. Chaos erupted instantly. Ethan dove for cover behind the table, while Rachel and I ducked as the men began searching the room. Agent Collins tried to maintain order, but it was clear they were outnumbered. In the midst of the turmoil, Jake's message popped up on my phone again: "Trust no one. They're everywhere." I glanced at Rachel, who nodded subtly. "Mark, we need to act now. Follow my lead." Taking a deep breath, Rachel stood up and faced the intruders head-on. "We're not going anywhere without proper identification," she declared, her voice steady despite the chaos. One of the masked men lunged towards her, but Ethan, surprisingly agile, tackled him to the ground. A scuffle ensued, with papers and folders flying everywhere. In the confusion, I managed to grab a file from the table and sprinted towards the window, shoving it open and jumping out onto the fire escape. "Mark, don't!" Rachel called after me, but I was already scaling the side of the building, adrenaline pumping through my veins. Reaching the rooftop, I glanced back to see the masked men regrouping below, frustrated by my escape. But I couldn't stop now. I needed to get to Sarah and Rachel, to figure out how to expose this conspiracy once and for all. As I made my way across the rooftop, Ethan caught up to me, out of breath but determined. "Mark, wait. You need to hear this." I paused, torn between wanting to hear him out and the urgency to keep moving. "Fine. What is it?" Ethan looked around nervously before speaking. "There's a safe house not far from here. All the evidence you need is there. We can't trust anyone else. They have eyes everywhere." I nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "All right, let's go." We descended the fire escape and navigated through the back alleys until we reached a nondescript door tucked away behind some dumpsters. Ethan knocked in a specific pattern, and the door creaked open to reveal a nondescript room filled with laptops, documents, and various electronic equipment. "This is it," Ethan said, ushering me inside. "Everything you need to take them down is here. But we have to move quickly. They'll be back any minute." As I began sifting through the evidence, Rachel and Sarah arrived shortly after, out of breath but safe. The safe house was a treasure trove of information, including detailed plans of the money laundering operations, names of key players, and even recorded conversations implicating several high-ranking officials. "Mark, this is our chance," Rachel said, her eyes scanning the documents. "With this evidence, we can bring everything to light and clear your name." I felt a surge of determination. "Let's do it. We need to expose them before they catch up to us again." Just then, the sound of sirens approached in the distance, growing louder by the second. "We don't have much time," Ethan warned. "They know we're here." As we prepared to make our move, I couldn't help but reflect on how my life had taken such a wild turn, from discovering my wife's infidelity to being entangled in a massive conspiracy. Through it all, the one thing that kept me going was the drive to uncover the truth and protect the people who still stood by my side. With the evidence in hand and a plan forming, we knew the next steps would be crucial. This was our moment to fight back, to take control of the narrative, and to ensure that justice was served, not just for me, but for everyone affected by this web of deceit. Alright, so here we are, approaching the climax of this insane saga. After rummaging through the safe house and gathering all the damning evidence, we knew we had to act fast. With sirens blaring in the distance, it was clear that time wasn't on our side. We needed a plan, and we needed it yesterday. Ethan, Sarah, Rachel, and I huddled around one of the laptops, poring over the files we'd collected. The documents detailed a complex network of money laundering schemes involving not just Lisa and Ethan, but several high-ranking officials in major corporations, including Apple. It was a labyrinth of deceit, with layers of shell companies and offshore accounts designed to obscure the true beneficiaries. "We need to get this information to the right people," Rachel said, her voice steady despite the chaos around us. "If we leak this to the media, it could expose everything. But we have to be careful, any wrong move, and they'll come after us even harder. I nodded, feeling the weight of the responsibility pressing down on me. We need to create a secure channel. Sarah, can you set up an encrypted connection? We can't risk this falling into the wrong hands. Sarah's eyes were already glued to her laptop, typing furiously. I'm on it. Give me a minute. As she worked, Ethan glanced at me, his expression serious. Mark, there's something you need to know about Lisa. It might explain a lot. My heart skipped a beat. After everything that had happened, I wasn't sure if I was ready to hear more about her lies and deceit. What is it? Ethan took a deep breath. Lisa wasn't just involved in the money laundering for personal gain. She was being blackmailed. Someone threatened to expose her past unless she cooperated with these schemes. I didn't know until recently, but that's why she was desperate enough to cheat with me. She thought I could help her cover things up. I felt a mix of anger and sympathy. So, she was forced into this? That doesn't excuse her cheating, but it adds another layer to the mess. Before Ethan could respond, Sarah looked up, a triumphant smile on her face. All right, I've set up the encrypted channel. We can send the files directly to trusted journalists who can verify and publish the information without exposing us. Rachel nodded approvingly. Good work, Sarah. Now, we need to make sure we're not being tracked. Let's use burner phones and meet at a different location once the files are sent. As we prepared to execute the plan, the door to the safe house burst open. Lisa stood there, looking disheveled and desperate. Mark, please, I need to explain, she pleaded, her usual bitchy demeanor stripped away, revealing a woman on the brink. I took a step back, my emotions a tangled mess. Explain what, Lisa? How could you betray me like this? She looked around, eyes darting nervously. It's not what you think. They forced me into this. They threatened everything, my career, our family. I didn't have a choice. Before I could respond, one of the masked men from earlier stormed in, holding a gun pointed directly at us. Everyone stay where you are, he ordered, his voice cold and authoritative. Panic surged through me. No, we're not going down without a fight, I declared, trying to muster some courage. But before things could escalate further, the sound of police sirens grew louder. It was our backup, the FBI agents who weren't part of the conspiracy. They had been tipped off by Rachel, who had managed to send the encrypted files just in time. Agent Collins, looking defeated, stepped forward. It's over. You're all under arrest for your involvement in the money laundering operations. The masked men hesitated, then slowly lowered their weapons, surrendering without a fight. Relief washed over me as the police took control of the situation, securing the area and apprehending the culprits. As the dust settled, Lisa collapsed into my arms, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, Mark. I never wanted any of this to happen. I held her tightly, the anger and betrayal slowly giving way to a complex mix of emotions. We need to fix this, together, I whispered, knowing that rebuilding trust would be an uphill battle. With the evidence safely in the hands of trustworthy journalists and the conspirators now facing justice, it felt like a huge weight had been lifted off our shoulders. But the scars of betrayal and deception would take time to heal. As the sun began to rise, casting a new light on our tumultuous journey, I realized that despite everything, we had a chance to start over. The road ahead would be challenging, but with honesty and transparency, perhaps we could mend what was broken. This ordeal taught me that life is unpredictable, filled with unexpected twists and turns. But through resilience and the support of those who truly care, even the darkest times can lead to a new beginning. Like for more stories.